Week 3 is in the books, so that means it's time to hit those Dynasty waiver wires to find players that could add value to the back end of your rosters. But quick note though, I will be referencing rostership percentages in this video, and those are coming from roster data from 1,700 Dynasty leagues on myfantasyleague.com, all with a minimum of 20-man rosters and basically a 50-50 split of one quarterback in Superflex leagues. So I'm not pulling these players out of nowhere. It is possible that some or all of these guys are already rostered in your leagues, perhaps even by you, but for the most part, there are hundreds of leagues out there where these guys are on waivers right now. First, I want to highlight a couple of players that are highly rostered but are not 100% rostered that I think should be. So double check your waiver wires for these players. Sam Howell in Superflex leagues, Samaje Perine, Jordan Mason, Zay Jones, and Tyler Conklin. Again, all guys rostered in over 90% of Dynasty leagues, but not exactly 100%. So double check your waiver wires and immediately add these guys if they are actually available. All right, I'm going to be completely honest here because this week of fantasy football sucked, and this week's waiver wires also suck. So there's not much going on here, but I want to give you guys actionable advice for this video. So I have 2 players to stash and then another player that you just need to acquire right now by almost any means necessary. So first up is who I believe has a great chance to be the next breakout tight end if he can find himself in the right situation. So you guys need to stash this guy right now, and that's Raiders backup tight end Foster Moreau. Now Moreau has been an intriguing name for some time now, which is why he's rostered in almost 85% of Dynasty leagues. And if you are in one of those 16% of leagues out there where he is available, I highly recommend picking him up right now and stashing him for a couple of reasons. Number one, he has shown that he can be a handcuffed tight end right now and startable when Darren Waller is out. So if Darren Waller were to miss any time over the remainder of the 2022 season, you would be able to plug and play Foster Moreau in your tight end spot, and other tight ends might not be able to do that. Number 2, he's only 25 years old right now, turning 26 in May, so he's still relatively young, especially for the tight end position. Number 3, he's actually quite athletic for his 6'4", 253-pound frame, running a 4.6 640 at his combine back in 2019. And then number 4, lastly, and perhaps most importantly, he's a free agent at the end of the season. So the combination of all of that makes for a very interesting tight end stash. And like I said, most importantly, the fact that he is a free agent after this year and could sign somewhere or anywhere as a team tight end 1, especially after the commitment that Las Vegas just made to Darren Waller, meaning they might not want to re-sign Foster Moreau as the backup and go for a cheaper option if Moreau is pulling in somewhat significant money in free agency. And in the dreary and sad state of the tight end landscape in Dynasty right now, we often try to identify who that next breakout is at the position. We often look for those athletic guys, the guys like Noah Gray, Kylan Granson, Donald Parham, Hunter Long. You guys have been rostering and stashing these guys on the back end of your rosters for as long as these guys have been in the NFL. But what if the next guy is actually Foster Moreau, who has flashed actual fantasy production in his career, is potentially just as athletic, if not more athletic, than some of those guys or all of those guys, but has a clearer path currently right now to being a team starter than a lot of other stash tight ends in Dynasty. I would rather have Moreau over all of those guys I just mentioned and more of tight ends, to be honest with you. So check if Moreau is available, and if not, maybe tack him on as a throw-in during your next Dynasty trade from the manager who already has him. The second player that I would advise stashing right now is actually way more widely available in almost 70% of Dynasty leagues on your waiver wires right now. So you could pick him up today if you really wanted to, and that's Eagles wide receiver Zach Pascal. Now you might be asking, why do I want to pick up Zach Pascal? Well, I believe he's actually a very solid receiver, a la like Tim Patrick, Zay Jones, KJ Osborne, those types of solid role players who are trusted by their NFL team. And number 2, I believe he's actually the Eagles wide receiver 3 right now, which doesn't really account for much when everybody's healthy, but if someone were to get injured, Pascal could step into a larger role and be a spot start for you in a pinch. He's already shown the ability to be valuable for fantasy before, back with the Indianapolis Colts. He actually opened up the 2021 season last year with a wide receiver 19 and wide receiver 33 finish in weeks 1 and 2 when T.Y. Hilton was out playing as the wide receiver 2 with Michael Pittman. In fact, he's finished as a top 36 receiver in almost 40% of the games where he's played 85% or more of snaps. When he actually gets playing time as a starter, how does this help us now? Well, like I said, it doesn't when everybody is healthy right now, but we've seen how consolidated this Eagles offense is with its target share between A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert. But should Brown or Smith miss any time at all, as we've seen A.J. Brown specifically do in his career, Pascal could slot in as that third target on what's become a top passing attack in the NFL with Jalen Hurts. Now, I wouldn't spend anything significant to get him off the waiver wire, but given his wide availability and his lack of production both this week and just this year in general, he should be extremely cheap, if not even free at this point, to just pick up and add from your waiver wire. I would rather roster Zach Pascal in my receiving core at the back end of my roster than guys like Bryan Edwards, Denzel Mims, Amari Rodgers, Dyami Brown, Dwayne Eskridge, Anthony Schwartz, Darius Slayton. These are all guys who are currently rostered in way more dynasty leagues than Zach Pascal, and I would rather have Pascal than all of those guys. And then finally, we get to the guy who you should just go out and buy at almost whatever the cost is right now, and that's preseason darling and Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs. I really think what we're watching right now with Romeo Doubs is Kenny Golladay 2.0. And I've said since training camp in August that I think this dude is actually legit and not a fluke. Well, 8 for 73 and 1 this week against Tampa Bay in his first game playing over half the snaps. I'm in. I get Christian Watson and Sammy Watkins were out, but this is the best performance by any Packer receiver yet this season. And there's a realistic chance that Doubs ends the season as the Packers wide receiver 1 ahead of Lazard, ahead of Christian Watson. And I mean, he already is actually right now. He's actually the team leader in targets, receptions, and receiving yards and has 1 fewer touchdown than Allen Lazard right now. Now, when I say acquire by almost any means necessary, I don't mean just go out there and throw a 2023 first at the guy, but I think you can honestly get him for a 2023 second right now. And I would also make these following trades with a 1-for-1 trade in Dynasty with the following wide receivers. I'd take Romeo Doubs over Adam Thielen, Kadarius Toney, Robert Woods, Christian Watson, Chase Claypool, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Cooks, and Allen Robinson. I would trade all of those guys right now straight up for Romeo Doubs in Dynasty without hesitation. But I would imagine that in a lot of leagues out there right now, you could flip half of those guys for Doubs plus something significant. Maybe even Doubs plus a second for some of those guys in some Dynasty leagues out there, which is obviously a way better move to make. But the point is, as of right now, you guys just need to go out and get yourself some Romeo Doubs on your Dynasty teams because I think this dude is legit, and I think this guy is the next wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers. And if you're looking for more moves to make after week 3 in either Dynasty or Redraft, I'd highly recommend checking out Justin's video right up here.